Hey, what's up, chat? Welcome. Oh, you know what? Producer, I'm not logged into StreamYard, so I can't see any. I can't put any people's comments on the screen. I have no powers. All my powers are gone. It's a rough way to start the new year. Happy New Year, everybody. Welcome back. If you're just coming back, maybe some of you never left. You coded straight through. You worked straight through. Do I want to leave and come back? I feel like no. I feel like it'll take, like, I'll try to log in and then I'll have to get the code on email and it'll just take too long. I'll just hang out. What's up, James? Happy New Year. Y'all, what are you gonna do in the new year? Like, what are your New Year's resolutions? I'll tell you one of mine. It is, as always, to write something every week, either like a blog post or a story or something. Just write every week. And every year I fail at this miserably. What's up, Ed? Go Blue? I don't know what that is. Is that Michigan? Is Go Blue Michigan? You have to excuse my ignorance on sports. Niket, what's going on? What's everybody's New Year's resolutions? What are you gonna do? It's a new year. You got the whole year. This is your year. You're gonna learn to play guitar. What are you gonna do? You can build a house. I've always wanted to build a house too. Happy New Year from Switzerland. Yeah, go. Okay, I got it. Go Michigan. Michigan State. Michigan is, I don't know. Happy New Year from Switzerland. What's up? How is everybody? Oh, you know what? That's my new. I've got the. I don't know if y'all know this, but I think this will work. Will this work? Yeah. So the new have y'all tried this? If you have an iPhone or a Mac and you're using the camera like I am, there's these effects now where if you do the right gestures, I think this is one. Yeah, it does. Do y'all know this? It's pretty cool. James is writing his first VS Code extension. Well, you came to the right place because that's what we're doing today. As your New Year's resolution, yeah. Happy New Year from India. Alak, what's up? Thanks for being here. What time is it, man? What time is it in India? I'm saying it's 12 hours off of here. What is it, 10 p.m.? Did I have that right? I'm just guessing. I'm throwing that out. You didn't like the effects? There's others, but I don't remember what they were. 5 p.m. 9:33. I was really close. Wait, how is it 9:33? You're like 10 and a half hours off? 9 and a half, 11 and a half hours off? I thought all time differences were right at the hour mark. Interesting. Okay. Well, thanks for being here, y'all. It is Thursday, and as such, it's time to do a TikTok throwback. Let's do it. Producer, run that.
This lambda function here on line 2 prints out the sum of a and b, which is 5 to the console. But if you're having issues wrapping your mind around how the lambda function works, sometimes it's just easier to think backwards and ask yourself, how does this work without the lambda function? Now, you can search online. I'll choose to ask chat to rewrite this without the lambda function. And now when I see how it works the old-fashioned way, it just makes more sense to me. And then I could be like, okay, now I see what the lambda function is doing because it works this same way too. Think backwards sometimes. It works.
There we go. And Python in the TikTok nonetheless. Prelevated Insider. If that's your actual name, that's amazing. What is going on here? That's a great question. So today we're going to create a VS Code extension for Python-based tools. So today we have the honor and the distinguished opportunity, which we don't often have, is to have one of the engineers from the VS Code team on the stream. Now, we don't always have engineers from the VS Code team on the stream because they're very busy, and it's difficult to get time on their calendars to do this. So it's always great when we have one that's able to come on. So today we have Karthik, who's going to be joining us. Karthik, producer, and Karthik gone out. Karthik, what's up, man?
Hey. I'm doing good. How are you guys doing?
Doing great. Tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do here on the VS Code team.
So, I'm an engineer. I've been an engineer for quite some time at Microsoft now. It's going to be 11 and a half years at
Oh
Microsoft for
wow,
me.
was that your first job?
Yes. So, um, yeah, like I was working on Windows when I started, and then I switched to R, if you know that language.
Yeah, I didn't realize Microsoft did any R, but yeah.
Yeah, we had R tools for Visual Studio. So that's
Oh,
where I was
okay.
working. And then I was working on Python tools for Visual Studio. And then eventually I worked on the debugger for Python. And finally, I started working on the extension for VS Code about 4 years ago.
Okay, and so you you were working on Windows. So is that C on Windows?
Yes, C, C++.
So Jid, tell us what that's like, Karthik, because I'm just briefly, like, what's it like to work on the Windows code base as an engineer?
Uh, so your developer cycle is very different. So, like for example, when you're working on code here with VS Code, you type something out, you test something by hitting run, and you immediately can see the output. On Windows, it would be like, okay, you type something out, and then you have to wait an entire day for the build to come out for Windows, because it would take like 8 to 10 hours for a build to occur, and then you can test your things out.
Wait, that's how long the build actually takes, or they only built that often?
No, that's how long the build takes on like a extremely high powered machine. Like if you would try to build that on your on your workstation, like a really powerful workstation, it would take 36 hours.
Oh my gosh, I had no idea, but I guess that makes sense, right? It's just massive, and
Yeah. It was about 500 gigabytes of just source code. Like literal plain text source code was 500 gigabytes.
so there is no. Rocky's asking, but I'm guessing there is no. You don't debug. You just
You can, but like you would make a debuggable binary, and then you would put that into the operating system, and then you would have the symbols. And the debugging was not as easy as you would have to use WinDebugger, which is another application. And then you have to load the symbols, build time symbols, and then like work through that. Uh, it wasn't, the process wasn't as straightforward, at least at the time when I was working about 7 years ago. So I don't know if the process has changed to be better now, but that's
Yeah,
how it was.
that's very interesting. Well, what are we talking about today? We're not talking about Windows, although it is interesting.
Yeah. We are going to talk about creating extensions for VS Code, but the focus will be more towards building extensions using Python tools. Um, like if you have a Python-based linter, formatter, or any other thing, I'm going to show you how you can take that and build an extension around that, a wrapper per se, so that you can ship it as an extension for VS Code in the VS Code's marketplace.
All right, let's do it. Let's jump in.
All right. So, can we start sharing my screen? Wonderful. So one of the things I usually talk about before I start is on Windows, there is a cool thing. If you press Windows and V, you get this thing called a clipboard. I'm not sure why it's not showing up on this screen, but let me try and open the page, and we'll talk about that. Let me see. If you press Windows V, you will get a clipboard that you can use continuously, and I'll show you how useful it is. But before we talk about that stuff, let me show you some of the packages that we'll be using today. So first package I'm going to talk about, it's projects. Doing something wrong here. Let me see. Okay. So the first package that I'm going to talk about is this one, pygls. I contribute to this package as well, but this is this package allows you to create language servers for Python, and this is a general purpose, like a generic language server framework. So you can pretty much build any language server for any language, but the code itself will be written in Python. So you could write a language server for Rust with this thing, or language server for C# or any other language with this. But today we are going to be using this package and take a linter. I'm going to be using Bandit linter, and take Bandit linter and this package and turn it into an extension for VS Code.
So just real quick, Karthik, what is a language server, just for those who aren't familiar? Because that's a very VS Code specific terminology, is it not?
Yes. So, right. So the way VS Code exposes all of its features, like completion, or the formatting, or the diagnostics and the errors that you see, or when you're typing and you hover over a function, it'll show you the description. All of that, they have a bunch of APIs. So basically, you say register a completion provider, register a hover provider, and a bunch of that. So, but you want language, so all of that is in TypeScript. Now you want, people wanted, like C# wanted their own language server to be written in their own language, right? So you would want C# processing, all that to happen in C#. And Python, we wanted our Python stuff to happen in Python because we had an existing language server called Jedi that was completely written in Python. Then there was, Rust might want all of their analysis to happen in Rust, right? And it's hard to take all of that and convert it into a TypeScript code. So what the solution that everyone or most IDEs came up with was to have a protocol so that the IDE and these things can communicate with each other. And that protocol is called Language Server Protocol. So So this protocol basically defines like all the language features, like how hover should be described in a JSON, so that you can send it, you can give it to VS Code, and then VS Code knows how to show it, right? So every single thing that you do, like folding ranges or code lenses, like whatever the completions, right? Completions are the most common thing. So when you press the dot, or press a space, like it shows you some options to select. So all of that comes from from these sources. So like if you are working on Rust code, then the Rust analyzer will send you all of this information. And these two processes are separate. So VS Code and the Rust analyzer are two separate things written in two different technologies, and they communicate with each other with this thing called the language server protocol. And I will show you how to connect these two. That's going to be part of my explanation of all of this. But the language specific process that is running, that is the language server. The communication mechanism between the two is the language server protocol. And VS Code has a language client that it uses to communicate with those. So basically, VS Code understands this protocol, the server understands this protocol, and they're able to ask each other questions on whatever you want about the code.
Okay, so it's just a common language that allows VS Code to talk to other languages, I suppose, or underlying tools to okay, I gotcha.
Yeah, right. And pygls is an implementation of that protocol and service, protocol and the server handshake in Python. And similarly, there is Tower LSP for Rust. I don't remember for other languages, but these are the two that I've commonly worked with. So let's dive in. I'm just going to show a simple server example, and then we'll go into creating an extension from an extension template that we have that makes your life much, much easier with all of these things.
That was a beautiful picture of San Francisco, by the way. Is that where you live? You live in San Francisco?
No, it just turned out to be the
it's just what's on Bing.
I live in Seattle. I live in actually Woodinville, close to Redmond.
Oh, so it's close to Redmond. How's the weather out there? Is it raining yet?
It is actually. If I see outside, it looks like it is raining.
But, I mean, it's gray, and it's not raining, but it's gray here too. So I feel like I'm there with you. I'm there with you in spirit, Karthik. By the way, Chad, I live in Tennessee, and so we're spread out all over the place. Actually, none of us are in Seattle. Some engineers are in Seattle, but some are in Zurich, right?
Yes, there are some in Vancouver,
and some in Vancouver. Okay. All right. Yeah. Sorry, that was a bit of a distraction. Let's get into it. I apologize, Chad.
No worries. So these 8 lines here will give you a basic language server. It won't do anything, but you have a language server running and working with these 3 lines. So that's the benefit of using pygls, is that it makes it this simple to create one. Like, right, and I can just run this, and you can see that it'll. I have an extension behind this, but I'll show you that for the Python part, this is all that was needed once this finishes building and launching. We can, okay, it launched. And bring it here. So it's still loading, but what we just created was, as you can see, pygls demo, and the language server is running. So this is all part of the communication handshake that happens between vscode and the language server that I just showed you, right? So with just these 8 lines, you already have something that is already running like a language server. It just doesn't do anything. I can't show you anything with it right now. Let's just add something there, and we'll see what it can do. So I have this code that I had pre-written that I'm gonna add in here. Okay, and then I'm just gonna restart the server. Let's see if pygls demo restart is there. If not, I'll just trigger it. Just re-trigger it. And so this code that I added, I'll explain further. You don't have to worry about it. This is just I just added a bunch of, I just said that on line 0 is, so VS Code has 0-based line numbers when you're talking over the communication protocol. So I'm just saying that a dummy diagnostic, so that you can see that as an error. And as you can see here, we now have a diagnostic, and if you go into problem view, and it'll show you the diagnostic. So it's that simple, right? Diagnostics or anything, right? So now you can think about it as an extension of this is, instead of providing this manually like this, you just have to ask a tool to give you this information, and then you just present it to VS Code in this by returning it as a diagnostic object.
Right? Gotcha. So that's, you just return the diagnostic object, you give the range, the message that you want to show up, the severity, and then what is the code, demo code?
So that would be the error code, right?
Oh, gotcha. Okay. So where would your stack trace go? That would be in the message?
That's different. That's an error during execution. This is telling you problems with your code.
These are problems to you. Gotcha. I always wondered if it was possible to show images in the problems view. Like if you could be really creative and put like a GIF or something in there. I guess that's not.
You can provide a link, and I'll show you that. You can provide a link to a more helpful description of how to do all of
like
that.
a link to a Rick Astley video for people. So give them an
You
air
could.
and Rick roll them.
You could.
All right, cool. All right, I'm getting it. I'm understanding. I don't understand things very quickly, so this is good.
So you get the picture, right? So you have a language server, and now we were able to add diagnostic features to it just by adding this one thing. You can add pretty much anything. So there is like LSP, and there is a huge list of features, right? So anything like, call hierarchies, like code actions, like anything that you can imagine that you can do, you could. Now, you can see the possibilities, because here I just put it as a fixed value. You could have an AI model look at your code. So you get your entire whatever code that you're running. You get your text document on which the code that is running. So you could actually send this to an AI model and ask it to give you whatever problems that are there in that. You don't have to rely on a particular tool or anything. Like, you can do everything however you want. So we'll get to that point. We'll talk more about that part. But just wanted to show you that it's as simple as that. But let's talk about how VS Code understands this. So let me bring this part here, and I'll explain more. So on the VS Code side, what I'm doing is I'm telling VS Code that it's a Python script. So the server itself is a Python script. So that was my demo server, and I'm telling which Python to use. And then I'm telling VS Code to run it on any file whose language is Python, and any untitled file, if it's not already saved or has any path, as long as the language is Python, use it. You could also like remove and just say that, hey, run it on anything that is Python. That is also fair to say. Like, it's okay to say that too. But this is useful because a lot of tools require or work with physical paths rather than raw text. So when you're just using language as Python, you might actually have to work with something that is just raw text. And some tools are not really great with that. They want physical paths to a file so that they can analyze relative paths and make decisions. Like think isort, for example. Isort is an import sorter, and it uses the relative paths to figure out whether something is a third-party import or a first-party import, or it's a sub-import or a sub-package, and like reorganize things based on that. So your path might become important. And in those cases, having a scheme as file will make sure that it's a file that you're talking about and not some cell in a notebook or things like
but
that.
Even if it's untitled, is it still a file?
It is a file, but it's unsaved.
Okay.
So, but the way you work with it is like you get an untitled path. So there is a format for an untitled path, and then you basically get its content. But you can work with it by like temporarily saving it, and like you can do a bunch of tricks with that. But yeah, like for this example, I'm just showing you like how you can provide like more detailed schemes, like however you want. And you are not restricted to one language. Let's just say that you want to create a language server that works with multiple languages. You just need to register all the languages that you work with. That's all. Like you can actually have like file and Rust here.
Gotcha. So some tool like Prettier probably has a document selector that looks like this, because Prettier works with HTML, JavaScript.
Exactly.
Blah, blah, blah.
Think like there are tools that do spell check, right? So I have a spell checker, I think, that always complains about something all the time. It's not complaining right now, but I'll show you. But essentially,
spell checker's always mad about code.
Yeah, but there are spell checks that actually understand comments, and they will only provide errors in the comments. So you can think like that, or you can improve grammar in your comments, or provide better grammar if you have an AI model that can generate better descriptions, right? So you could use that to provide that for any language. And at that time, you would have language server. Language here could be just multiple languages that you support. It could even be star saying that, hey, I work on everything.
Yeah.
Right. So that's just that. So
okay.
We have two things. We have one thing that's the command and arguments for my server, where to run. And this is basically saying where to log. So you saw that I had the pygls demo, and I was showing you all the messages that were going back and forth between VS Code and VS Code and the server, and you could see that. So this is how I connect the two. So I'm just telling VS Code, hey, whenever you have some messages, just type it, put it there so I can see it. So basically logging channel, right? And that's it. I'm just giving it a name and then providing the both of these settings to the language client. As I said, VS Code acts like the client, and your Python part acts like the server, and the two communicate using language server protocol. And then I just started. That's basically it. These few lines here are all that are needed to get you to start a language server, right? So if you want to write everything out of scratch, you can use Yeoman code generator. Someone might have talked about that before, but if not, let me show you that. To create your bare bones extension template, and then you can start from there.
Yo code or whatever.
Yeah.
So yeah. You have learn is asking if there's going to be a Q&A at the end. There's not really a Q&A, learn. We just kind of do it as we go. So if you got questions, feel free to drop them in.
Yeah. And this is the code generator for extensions for VS Code. It's also maintained by our team, by the way. This is Joab and I think Alexander. So they maintain this thing. So this will generate just the TypeScript or JavaScript based extension template for you, and then you can build on top of it. So it'll basically generate a bunch of things. All right. Now for the real thing. So we talked about the Python language server SDK, the pygls package that we can use to build language servers in Python. And we talked about how to connect VS Code to language server. But all of this has a bunch of other things, right? You have dependency packages and everything. All of that has to be managed and maintained. Then you have settings that have to be transferred between VS Code and language server and things like that. So to make it all convenient, we created this Python tools extension template. So basically have everything that you need to create a language server based extension for Python ready for you.
Okay, so this would be specifically for creating an extension for a Python tool.
Correct.
Like AutoPep or Black or Yap for whatever the tool is.
Exactly. So actually, we have an extension contributed, a bunch of extensions contributed by our users. So YapF is one of them. So they took this template and created a YapF extension for VS Code based on that. So Rust is another one. So not Rust. Rough is another linter, and there is a extension for linter using this exact template. So how would you use this template? So there is this button here at the top that says use this template, and you hit say create a new repository using that template. I'm just going to create a private repository. I'm going to call it vscode. Yeah, I'm going to make a bandit-based extension. So I'm going to say bandit.
And bandit is a Python tool, I assume?
Yes. So
I'm looking it up right now.
I'll show you. So bandit, it's a security-oriented linter. So it'll basically tell you if something feels like a security issue. It points out those lines of code and says, hey, you might have a problem on this line of code.
So what would be that, like SQL injection and stuff like that?
Yep.
Okay.
So it'll identify points of, hey, this point might be a place where you could have an injection CVE.
Okay, so, and you can see the output there where it says, like, if you just run it. I'm sorry, chat can't see this. I'm looking at the web page where you have.
What do you, I have it open here.
Oh, yeah, right there. So in the block there, this is what you actually have to get back into VS Code. Is this Correct. Output from this an otherwise command line utility?
Correct. So you basically, this is what we'll be doing in the extension. So the extension template has all these tools that makes it, all these tools and sample scripts and helper functions that will make it easy for you to take this output by running bandit like this and show that as a problem in the problems view. Right. So the say VS Code extension for bandit, right? And I'm gonna create it. So once this creates, let's open this up and let's see. So I'm gonna copy this, go to my terminal. Right. Stop. So it has cloned the repository that I just created and has opened everything up in VS Code. First thing first, it'll ask you whether you trust this code, which you should hit this button only if you trust the code. I created this. I'm gonna trust it. I'm gonna hope I don't screw myself.
I feel like that's. I'm sorry, I'm multitasking here. I feel like that's every developer.
I am the author of this thing, and if I have done something wrong with this, all right. So what I would say is that the README for this pretty much will walk you through all the steps of getting this working. So the requirements are you need VS Code 1.64. That's ancient, but that's the bare minimum VS Code that we support with all the features that we support out of the box. But if you need something really, really new that was introduced like recently, you might have to set the minimum higher. The extension template itself is designed to work with the minimum Python version that is still in support by Python org. So we keep maintaining it to work with that minimum. So the reason is that this will allow you to have the broadest range of customers that you can have for your extension. This is the node version that is, again, the minimum node version that is currently still is serviced. And this is the NPM version that you require. So in your terminal, before you do anything, basically check your NPM version and node version, right? So I have those, and then Python, I have actually a bunch of them installed. So I have minimum, I'm going to use 3.8 minimum and create the thing. So getting started, the first thing you do is clone the repository that we just did. checked out the repository. Then I'm going to create a virtual environment with 3.8. So I'm going to do py-3.8 vend.vend. So I'm creating a virtual environment. I am going to tell Python to use that virtual environment. Once it finishes creating it, usually takes a bit of time. All right. So it's created. I'm gonna activate it. If you open a new terminal, it'll activate for you. So I'm just activating it so that we can continue working on in this terminal. Then I'm gonna install Nox. So Nox is a task runner. So think about it like Gulp for JavaScript world. So the reason I'm installing Nox is we have a bunch of helper functions that we have created already here for you that will set up the package and add things for you automatically, and will help you build the extension faster. And we can use Nox to run that stuff. So if you say Nox list, so it'll show a bunch of things for pre-built commands that we have installed into this using the Nox task runner, so that you can makes it easier for you to set up and install build packages, like everything. So we did this. The next step is requirements. So we want our favorite tool that we are working on. So we're going to change this to Bandit. All right, that's done. And then I'm going to run this, which is going to install the tool for me. And it's going to install it in such a way that this tool is available when you bundle it. So what it really does is so we have a bunch of helper scripts here. What you will see after this thing is done is that this tool will now be available here, which for us to package and ship as an extension package.
Gotcha. Okay.
Right. So let it finish, and we'll go to the next step.
Yeah, that's a good question. What if an extension developer doesn't use a tool like Bandit? Do we do anything to protect users of extensions in any way?
So, well, if you don't have some kind of thing that tells you that there is a problem, I don't think there is a way. But if you have Copilot, it should be able to recommend cases where there are issues with your code.
Well, I think what Ed's asking, Karthik, and Ed, correct me if I'm wrong here, is that do we do anything to protect users from extensions that have security issues with them? Like, do we scan them? Do we do anything when they go into the marketplace?
So so that happens even before the extension gets published to the thing. So when you actually try to publish, the extension goes through a bunch of scans before it gets put into the marketplace. So anything that's in the marketplace has already gone through the scans.
I gotcha. Okay. So yeah, Ed, we do have something up there to try to protect people from malicious extensions.
Yeah, like someone wraps a virus into an extension and then ships it, like it's gonna get immediately flagged.
Okay.
It won't even get published. So, all right. So what happened here was, as you can see, now Bandit is now available as a library under the bundle. So when you package this as a v6, so the reason why we do it like this is when you package this as a v6, all of these are the requirements for Bandit to work correctly. So we package all of that along with the extension. All right. So now we got that. We can do this test installation. So we have so we can run our tests. So I'm just gonna run that to install all of our tests. And then lastly, I'm also going to just install the requirements here directly so that we can run some things in the command line and look at its output and then make some decisions on that. All right, so while that is installing, we can do our next thing. So we go to package.json. And here we have a bunch of these things that need to be changed. So basically you bring this up, vscode is going to say, hey, you need to make some changes to these. So let's start making those changes. So I'm going to call this bandit. So this is the module name. So I'm just going to use bandit, and I'm going to replace all. And then I'm going to take this. So there are 4 of those. And then this is the tool display name. This is what the name of the extension will look like, and how it will show up in your UI and things like that. So I'm going to use uppercase B there, and that's going to be that. And then there is publisher, and I'm going to say myself. And then this is the project name for GitHub repo. All right. So be my GitHub.
I was just asking about that. I was like, is that a substitution? Does that just happen or no?
Yeah, no, I'll share that. But yeah, so this is it. So this now has set this extension up to work set it up for Bandit. We still haven't connected the tool yet. We'll do that in Python. But at this point, the parts that we need for VS Code are done. So as you can see here, like we changed the module thing, and we provided what was the specific module. In our case, it was Bandit. For display name, again, we chose Bandit. And the last thing that we need to do is run npm install. This will install all the node based packages that we require, and then we can start working on the actual features that we want to introduce.
All right, I lost my StreamYard window there for a moment. Okay.
All right. So that part is done. So Node has finished installing. So what this template gives you is basically a bunch of these settings by default. So if you go here and go to the bottom here, you'll see that we now have Bandit args, Bandit path, whether you want to import Bandit from the user's environment or the one that we bundle in here, or whatever interpreter path that you want to use, notifications if there is any error or anything, and a command that automatically restarts Bandit if something's gone wrong. So you have a bunch of these things, and it provides an output channel that basically, for your case, it will be output Bandit. Right. And now, so these are the features that it has automatically added to the extension part. Now we go work on the Python side of things. So all of our work should probably sit within just this one file. So server. So we are going to look into this file and work on this file. But before we do, let's figure out a little bit of things about what we want to do with Bandit. I have a file that I use that has a problem that I can use that with Bandit to see and understand things better. So I'm just opening things up here. So I have a project, I have this script that has the bug. I'm going to copy its path, and I'm going to say Bandit, and then run it on that particular file. So,
all right.
So Bandit was able to find some problems with it, right? So, but as you can see that this might be a little too hard for us to parse because there are so many things going on. So one of the things I do whenever I'm working with tools like this is see if they have a way to format the results in a neater way that we can work with. Often most tools have something that allows you to format. I know this, so I'm going to go straight to that point. So basically there is a format flag that we can use with Bandit, and we can say whichever format that is easy for us to parse. So I'm going to say format with JSON, and let's see how the output looks like with that. So I'm going to add and this feels much better, right? So now we have everything, and it looks like it's in a JSON format, and we should be able to take this and parse and present that to users. So we are able to extract. So you were asking me what was code. This is the error code, right?
Gotcha. Okay.
V06.
And now you're just going to have to pick out the fields from that JSON response and send them over to the API.
Exactly. And that's what we are going to do here in Python part. So what we have to do here is you just say Control F and find all to-dos. Big screen is making it hard for me to type.
Yeah, chat. Listen, we crank the font size way up for y'all because it's hard to see. But when you're actually doing this, you should try this. Crank your font size up to like the biggest you can stand it, and then go one more, because that's what we do here, and it is impossible to code. It is a real challenge.
Right. So as you can see, you have similar things like we saw in the JSON. So I'm just going to do Control H and then go up. Display name, Bandit, then replace to display all of them. I'm hoping all of them got replaced. Yeah, and then server version. Oops. So hard. 0.1. Replace all. All right, so we finished with one to do here. And the next to do is the module name. So I'm gonna just take this. And it replace all. And this was the display name. We already did that. And then these are the default tool args that we want to use so that we get our output in a way that is very useful to us. So we just discovered the -- format and JSON. Add that. And then in the template, I have a couple of sections. So if we are only working on linting, we are just going to use this section. So this works for linting, and we have a bunch of helpers there. And then there is formatting stuff. We actually don't need anything formatting, so I'm going to just delete that to make it easier on us. So we'll just look at the linting parts, right? So yeah, we are a linter, so we're gonna work on just the linting part here. So you don't have to do anything here, don't have to do anything here, don't have to do anything here. Here's a to-do. So this is where I said, like, you have to figure out whether your tool can handle raw text. So I know Bandit doesn't handle raw text. It actually needs a file. If it has changed, I don't know. But when I used to work with Bandit, I know that it worked on actual file paths and directories. And we can actually check with Bandit itself if it says that it can take any kind of input other than file. So as far as I can tell, it just says the targets have to be like files or directories. So we don't really need to do anything here extra. But what you could do if it had the ability to use raw text is you can just send in use std true, and it'll automatically just send the raw text rather than the file. And that way you could actually work live. So raw text is useful when people are typing and you want to like detect problems as they're typing.
Versus when they save?
Yes.
Okay.
So this will work when users save or open. So that's what this is. So we basically work on open and on save by default. You can add more. Like you can say, I want this to work on change, but the problem is that you will have to work with the raw text. That's the issue, because the content is not already available on the file. So let me try and run through some of this stuff. So since we are getting it as JSON, I don't think we will want to use regex, but we can rename this. We'll just say parse output, and I'm going to get rid of parsing this. So you can think like if your output was only going to be something like, for example, Flake8 didn't have formatting that would come out as JSON, so you could force it. But Flake8 did have a way to format content in the line itself. Then you could use regex to extract that information. But in our case, we have JSON, so we're gonna get rid of that, and then I'm gonna simplify this. We'll come back to this part once we're done with some of the other to-dos. Basically, there are things like does the line number in the error report, does the line number start with 1 or line number starts with 0? And so you see here in this error report, it says line number 3. And if you look at the file that we were working with, right? So let me show you the file content. So it was complaining about line number 3.
So it starts with 1.
Yeah, so it's using line number. Line numbers are starting with 1, so we can just get rid of this thing. And then column numbers, right? So we can again look at the output of Bandit and see whether it reports column number. And you can see that the column offset is 0. So the column, yeah, so we can say false. So that's done. So because this is using regular expression, we are going to get rid of this code and we are going to do it with JSON. I'll do that part, but before that, we'll look at some other things. So we talked about severity, and here's where we can make it look different. So if you say warning, it will show up in yellow, and if you say error, it shows up in red, and if you say information, it will show up in blue. At least that's for my settings, right? So here, if we go to this problems view, you can see here, like, is defined and not used, it's showing up as yellow. And like, so this is what it's going to control in the code that we were looking at. So just jumped all the way through. Then parse output, where is it? Yeah, we were here. So we're gonna make it better. So I'm gonna take this out, and I'm gonna show you how Bandit talks about severity, and then we can adjust this. So in our terminal, you can see here, Bandit says low, medium, high. So that's their thing. You can see here low, and then there is medium, and then there is high. So what we can say here is if low encodes. This is all, Copilot doing it for me. It's so great.
Yeah, this is what Copilot excels at, is the stuff you just don't want to type. You know what you need to type. You just
And by default, I'm gonna just put everything as warning. We can also make the default information if if for some reason the severity doesn't fall in these three, we have to provide a way for it to deal with it. So we're gonna do that. For brevity, I'm gonna the content that you get here is going to be the output that you see here. So you will get this entire thing. It'll just show up as a string for you. So we can take that and turn that into the object, diagnostic object. So what we're going to do here is just say like data equals json.load as content, and usually encode UDF8. All right, so we got this whole JSON out, and we call that as data, and then we want the results out of it. So I'm just going to say equals data results, and at this point we have this object that has all the items, and I have this code pre-written, so I'm just going to use that from my notes. So I just have this exact same thing that we just talked about all written out. And I'm just going to use it for brevity. Tab. And that should get us the data, and then we should be able to get to this point where it reads everything, and then we now have
that's where it's sending back the diagnostic, so go back through that if you would, because I'm just curious. So you're doing for result, get the start, get the end.
Yep.
Then the diagnostic is the range, start, end, message equals result, issue text. Now, on your message there, Karthik, this is important. Can you pass an emoji in the problems view? Put an emoji on the message, on the result message, that's like a bandit. I think there's like a robber or something. Let me see. What's it called?
Do you know the name?
I'm looking for it. It's called no, chat. What's the name of that? There's an emoji with a dude wearing like a blindfold, like not a blindfold, but like a mask. Hold on, we're solving hard problems here. No, it's not there. I don't know, man. Like, what's a?
Do you want this? A pirate flag?
Oh, dude, no, do the cop one. There's a cop one. If you just do security.
Oh, all right. Sorry, let's not. Okay.
Yeah, perfect. Now it's perfect.
Okay. All right. So this needs to be a string. Sorry. Maybe we'll put a space so people can see. All right. So there you go. So issue text. So issue text is whatever Bandit provides. Severity, we just talked about it. Basically, low, medium, high, and convert that into a severity range. Module is going to be Bandit. We can make it display. So this way, it'll actually have uppercase Bandit. Yeah. And code description, that'll be this link. So it basically will give you this link.
Gotcha. Or you can go get more info.
Yeah. And let's see if there are any more to-dos here.
I'm excited to see the emoji pop up.
We'll see. We'll see if this will all work. So to do, I'm saying that we are not going to work with cells for now, and we don't want to deal with standard library Python files because it's already published. Like, we can't do anything with that. So And then are there any more to-dos? Yeah, so this was the thing that I was talking about. Like if you wanted to pass things as raw text, you will have to add more arguments to your tool. Some tools handle like pylint handles from stdin, and then you provide all of your raw text as via stdin. But since our tool doesn't handle that, we're by default setting this to false. So this is not needed for us. You can get rid of this code if you don't need it. So I'm just gonna remove that. And then there are two more to-dos. This is more for like, so some tools actually have APIs. So you can basically import them and they will have an API. You could use that and you can switch that out with this. So again, we don't need that. So I'm gonna remove this part as well. And then there is one more, I think, which is again based on something similar. So this is so there are two run tool helpers. One is run tool on document that will run on a particular document, and this one is more of trying to figure out the version and like some details about Bandit or whatever tool that you're running on, so that you can do version matching. Like let's say that if you support a version and don't support certain other versions, you can kind of do all of that with this. And this will help you like extract that kind of information out. But I think we are kind of done with this stuff.
Is it gonna work?
I don't know. We're gonna see. That's the thing, right? It's always going to be one of those things. So I'm gonna set a breakpoint here just in case, and we're gonna run and see. This is so difficult. Like this zoom level is so high.
Yep.
It's messing with my brain.
What's bizarre is that Karthik, if you watch it like as a viewer, it looks fine, right? It looks like a totally normal coding zoom level. But when you try to do it, it's impossible. It's literally like having mittens on your hands and trying to code.
Right. So what's happening now is basically, Python extension is coming up. So we need Python extension to tell us which Python before anything starts. So first Python extension starts up, it figures out what Python it is, and then it starts telling other tools to start up. And there you go. We have the debugger connected. So it broke into our. So this is basically a helper for you to know that, hey, you are debugging and you're stepping into this stuff. So I added it there to make it easy. So let's see what happens, whether it's running. It's actually running. Oh my goodness.
Hey,
we got the content.
Go. All right.
There you go. All right. Shall we hit run and see whether it works?
Yeah. Let's see it. I believe in it. Yes. That's awesome. There's not nearly enough emojis in the problems view. How cool is that? It's a free idea, chat. Yeah. Free idea. Not going to make you any money, but well, Karthik, I know we're over time a little bit here, so I do kind of want to wrap up, but this has been phenomenal. Anthony was saying this is great. I agree. I understand exponentially more about language server, the API, all of that, just based on this stream alone. This is great.
So actually we are done. I mean, my demo is done. Basically, the next step is to package this and ship it. And we already, you can read about how to package and ship on the VS Code's documentation website. And you can also read through the README to do it. But I wanted to go through the steps of how you can turn a tool into a thing. But here you go.
That was awesome. So Doug said he would pay more for sessions like this. You talked about coming back and doing a part 2. Like, what would we do next if you came back?
I mean, we can do a Q&A of anyone running into any issues with this, or if anyone wants more information on particular area, people can comment and we can basically carry on from that point. Okay, we can also talk about how to create your publisher ID and how to publish things and things like that.
Gotcha. Yeah, Chad, let me know. We're going to wrap this stream up, but let me know in the chat here what you would like to see more of, especially if we have Karthik back, in terms of what we should do next time. There's a Q&A. There are other things you'd like to see, let us know. So, but I see Eleanor's here too. You got a lot of fans, Karthik.
Yeah, we have one more area that we could cover is basically testing. Like we could have how to test your extension, right? How to test your extension, how to test your Python side. We can do a little bit more to cover that aspect if you want as well.
All right, so that's another option as well.
Basically, have everything working in your CI.
Perfect. All right. Well, also our connection's getting a little rough, Karthik. I don't know if it's on your end or my end, but it's probably my end. Anyway, chat, thank you so much. Please thank Karthik for being here with us today. He is a busy guy, I'm sure. There's lots going on in VS Code land all the time. So to ask an engineer to take an hour plus out of their day to come do this is a big ask. And so we just want to thank him for doing that. We're very appreciative. And I want to thank all of you, chat, for being here with us for another VS Code live stream. We're here every week. Tell your friends. They're going to love it. YouTube.com/code. Like and subscribe and all of that stuff. And we will see you back here next Thursday for the next VS Code live stream. Thanks, Karthik, and thank you, chat. Good to see you.
Thank you all. See ya.